Hello and welcome to this episode of the Guys with Glasses podcast. I'm Bendito John, and I have with me No Name Josh. Hey, buddy.
How's it going, man?
Hey, so we have an interesting episode this week. We want to talk about this artificially created stem cell meat that was done and made into a burger patty.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So we're going to start off talking about that. We then want to talk about emulators and our thoughts on, when it is and is not okay to emulate games. And then what was our last topic that we were going to bring up?
We were going to talk about the terrible documentary, I say with air quotes, Megalodon.
Oh, yeah. Megalodon. Oh, the classic. Just along, that's also in partnership with the Sharktopus series.
And Sharknado.
Yeah, Sharknado. Yeah. Okay. So So going to this artificially created meat. This is kind of an interesting thing. Science has triumphed and created in a laboratory artificial beef, and apparently this burger cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to make or whatever. But this one burger patty cost $200,000 to make.
$375,000 actually.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Holy crap. Sorry. $375,000. Yeah, wow. Off by double. And, and they ate it. And what did they say, Josh?
That's what they said. It's okay.
It was meh.
It's not good or bad.
Was it worth $375,000?
I doubt it. I am certain that the guy's like, yeah, what the hell did I spend my money on?
Yeah, so I think this is interesting because this creates a really kind of like moral gray area, for vegans and vegetarians. I think it's interesting because it's like, for those people, there's a couple of reasons why they might not eat meat. One, it could be, for the ethical treatment of animals. And in this case, you're not breaking any ethics. There was no animal that was harmed in this. It was all lab grown. Or two, some people don't eat meat, for religious reasons, or in this case, maybe that still holds true and that won't change their opinion. So, I don't know. I mean, is it kind of like a veggie burger?
Well, it has the backing from PETA. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the article I read said that they even offered some of the funding money.
Yeah.
They said that, I even have the article up, not since the domestication of livestock has a method been so revolutionary.
Wow. Wow. Big words.
It's weird that PETA throws its backing, I guess, because, I don't know. It's still beef, in a way. It's a weird area. You're right. It's a strange area for people.
Yeah. I was kind of getting into a debate with my wife about this. It's like, where do we draw the line? Like, I've heard that, they're trying to get, like, the perfect cattle. Maybe it's like this Kobe beef, from Japan. And it's been, this fantastic beef from these generations of cows that are just prime, and can we copy that? Can we clone that and then eat that meat? That way all of our steaks are like, the perfect steak. That's kind of one area. Another area is like, can we eat some, wild animal? I mean, let's say we're eating like dodo bird. This is what it tastes like, and it's grown out of a lab. I mean, is that acceptable or not acceptable? I don't know.
It's weird, and I don't know. The way they grew it was by taking adult stem cells from a cow that was going to be, or that was at the slaughterhouse, and then they grew the meat. So, I mean, technically you're still eating an animal. I mean, it came from an animal.
Well, it's like it wasn't ever alive,
Well,
these
the tissue
cells,
samples.
This burger would never came out of like blood. Never flowed through this, to create a living creature.
Well, that's difficult to say because it says it starts.
Yeah.
It started the burger with biopsy from cows. The material was actually taken at a slaughterhouse, and what they did was they isolated the adult stem cells needed to replace the muscle and blah blah blah, and then they grew it in a container into this burger. So I mean, technically, it's still coming from an animal, at least on this point. I'm not sure if in the future they're just gonna grow it via, um, like amino acids and stem cells.
Well, let's say in this situation that I am going to give you a rare Chinese white tiger burger.
Yeah.
And man, this is a damn good burger. Would you eat this?
I think so, because I mean they don't have to kill the animal. They just take a little bit of its meat and say, hey, we can grow a burger. So, but who's to say that it tastes like a white tiger?
What if we took some stem cells from you, Josh, and like we're like, oh, this is Josh meat. This is what Josh tastes like.
I would hope that never happened. It's so gross. Who would want to eat human flesh in general? Oh.
I don't know, man.
There's got to be a line drawn somewhere, and I think eating people meat is that line. I mean, unless you're like a cannibal and that's like the only way you can satisfy your hunger, then I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's a weird topic. Well, so shifting gears a little bit, we wanted to talk about emulation.
Yes.
And what that entails for the gaming industry, and is it okay or not okay? This is kind of another moral kind of gray area. If anyone's not familiar, you can emulate game systems. It's really easy and it's really common to do it for old game systems like your old Nintendo or Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis and stuff. You can play them on your PC. It really just requires some more powerful hardware. It's easy to get everything. You can download basically like the whole Super Nintendo library all in one file. And it allows you to kind of play games that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to play. I don't know, what's your thoughts on that, Josh?
I hate it when people are like, "Oh, emulators are stealing." Well, think of it like Earthbound or old point and click games. I was looking for Siberia and what the heck?
Oh yeah.
I was looking for old Sierra games that you can't get anymore, and I don't see that as stealing from the company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's some services that have come out to try to combat that emulation. There's goodoldgames.com, and basically they have updated the executable files in order to play them on current PCs. That's kind of the problem also, is that, oh, you have this great game and it was meant for like Windows 98 and it doesn't run on Windows 8 or Windows 7. So Good Old Games, they're usually digital rights management free. They cost like $5 or $10 or $2 or something, and then they will run on current systems. So that's kind of cool. I think that's a good way to kind of combat that. But you brought up a really good example. I think Earthbound is kind of a classic example of this emulation, and it's something that has been really frustrating for me because Earthbound is this amazingly classic game. Everyone loves it. People still talk about it to this day, and there is no way to play this game. It came out on Super Nintendo. If you want to buy that original Super Nintendo cartridge, it costs like $70, $80 used, and that's just for the cartridge, not including like box and stuff if you want that.
Yeah.
That doesn't include the cost of like having a working Super Nintendo, that's 20 years old. And then, some other games they've come out on like, Wii as a downloadable title or Nintendo DS as a downloadable title. Earthbound has never come back out, so there's no way to get that game unless you're getting the original Super Nintendo title. And it's really frustrating. It's really hard, like you want to play this awesome game and you just can't.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. It's not like, Nintendo's going to lose the sale on this. I mean, they hate used game markets as it is, but on a game that is, you're unable to get and they've never re-released it, you're not stealing money from them. That money has come and gone, 25 years ago. I don't understand why people
you're gonna
like hate on people who use emulators for playing these old games. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and people are buying that game used. There's going to be no money that's going to the game developers in that. It's all just going to that reseller's profit, that private collector. And then there's games too that could never have been played by the general populace. I mean, there's like rare games that they only made a handful of, or there's like that rare game that you have, like that. I think that prize game, from Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
There's no way to play that besides owning this super rare cartridge unless you emulate, and there's no way in hell that's ever going to come back and be available for people to legally get.
Yeah.
So I think in some areas like that, it can be kind of justified if there's no other means to get that. Now, I don't condone, emulating some of the latest and greatest games, or I don't think that's necessarily right. When there's a legal avenue to get something, like being able to buy the game new on store shelves or being able to get on good old games, I mean, you really should just get it at those places. But yeah, I think going back to your point, I don't think there's just a clear cut, it's as good or this is bad. It's really like these games should be enjoyed. They should be played by people. And if the game developers are in no way, shape, or form ever going to be able to get more money out of it, then I think emulation can be a good way to, provide,
to bring people in, right?
That experience. Yeah.
This is like the thing that drives me nuts. Is there's a game that I loved when I was, a teenager or whatever. Populous. You can't find that anywhere, classic. And that thing's classic. And I really wanted to play it. The only place I can find it is emulation. I just don't understand like all the hate. And I understand that if people are emulating like say GTA 5 when it comes out, then that's BS and that's stealing from somebody. And I mean, the big thing is like what you brought up is they're never going to see that money. And to me, a developer probably doesn't really care, or well, at least a creator doesn't really care about the money aspect of it as much as somebody enjoying it, And I think that they would prefer somebody to enjoy their game than never to have touched it.
Yeah, I think these emulators, can really bring in like a new fan base. Like in the case of Earthbound, a lot of people have only been able to enjoy this game from an emulator. And so it's brought in a whole new wide range of people to play it. And, you just have these titles that just get lost by the wayside. They'll never be heard from again unless they're emulated. I think part of the issue also is that it's so easy to do it. We won't talk about it here on the podcast, but it's very simple to go download every Super Nintendo game and to download an emulator, like literally 5 minutes of your time. And, by doing that, basically you're getting, people's IP that, you don't necessarily legally own. And you can then easily put it like on a Nintendo DS or, on your Android phone. And then now you're playing it portably and stuff. And yeah, I wish there was just an avenue where we could play these old games. But sometimes, due to copyright issues or who owns the copyright to this game when it was made 20 years ago, or this song was made by this group and now we have to work out the rights to this. This is why we don't get good games, to come back sometimes. And in that case, it just gets stuck kind of in limbo and they're never re-released. And so emulation, it's so easy, but then it sucks.
Talking about that, like with the legal rights and all that stuff, look at all the stuff that Rare and Nintendo own, and now that Rare is owned by Microsoft, there's just tons of games that are locked up because there's no way to really settle it. Killer Instinct is like a rare one to actually come out. Nah, no pun intended there.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure there was, that was a lot of, I'm sure that was a lot of time and a lot of money.
Oh, I'm sure.
To get that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like, over a period of time, studios change hands, rights to songs and rights to all sorts of different stuff change hands. So it's almost impossible to get some of the old games moved over. And I think that's where an emulator should come in, is when, there's no avenue legally to get it. So,
yeah.
And the other thing about emulators that I dislike is people who say, well, if you play it on the emulator, you're not playing the real game. And I think that's kind of...
It's exactly the same. It's
exactly the same, and I think that's unfair to, like, somebody who maybe doesn't have $100 to go blow on an Earthbound copy for their Super Nintendo, and then they most likely would have to buy a Super Nintendo also and figure out how to hook it up to a modern TV. So I don't
Yeah.
know. All the hating on people for playing emulators just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'll tell you. So I was playing around with Linux a little bit, and I wanted to emulate some old games that I did own, and one of them was like this game called Stunt Race FX. It was like this Super Nintendo game that I loved. And I had a lot of nostalgia in my heart for it because I used to rent it all the time from Blockbuster. When
Yeah.
Blockbuster used to rent out stuff. Yeah, used to love. I've rented this game a ton of times. Loved it so much, and yeah, it did not age well. It was really bad. It had like super shitty graphics. It was basically just like a really bad Mario Kart. Yeah.
Oh,
So sometimes I
man.
wonder like, oh, is this game like better in the back of my head? It's, just being a nostalgia trip versus trying to bring it back and play it, and it's like, oh, this game wasn't that good.
And that's like another harsh reality is when you go back and play a certain game, you're like, man, I remember thinking this game could not get any better, and then you play it and you're like, this game is garbage. How did I ever really love this game?
Yeah, like another one that I was playing that I used to own is Donkey Kong Country. I remember loading up that game and thinking, this game has the best graphics I've ever seen. This game is amazing. Like, it looks so real, with like the CG and the motion capture. And then it's not good.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's sad. You're just like, oh,
The gameplay is still there actually in some of these games. It's like in Donkey Kong Country, like the gameplay is still fun. It's just like the graphics aren't,
up to par.
amazing what they used to be. Yeah.
I swear,
Yeah.
all those types of games, they just need to go back and do what they did with like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Just
Like
HD 'em, man.
remake with yeah.
oh, it'd be so amazing. I would love to see like, some of my old favorite games. The funny thing is, I actually went back and played a game that I loved when I was a kid. It was the original Metal Gear. It's atrocious.
Oh yeah.
Atrocious. It's so annoying. It's so frustrating. You die, you start at the beginning, and at least you start with whatever you died with, which is kind of nice. Sometimes you'll start with like a gun or something, but
Yeah.
there's like impossible traps and like weird glitches. Well, not even glitches, just like overlooked programming where you walk into a room and you have to switch immediately to your gas mask, and you lose half your life doing that because the whole time you're in the freaking menu, it's eating away at your health.
Yeah. That was another thing is that like as you're playing these old games, I forgot like how hard they are.
Yeah. Well, it's because they're
I was like,
super
why did I
short.
put up with this shit? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe games have gotten easier nowadays, or I
Well,
don't
I
know.
think they've gotten
but...
easier, but they also have gotten longer so that they can be easier. Like back in the day, if you had invincibility, you could finish Mega Man in an hour, But
That's true.
nowadays, it's a little bit easier and you can grind through the game and,
Well, what I like
it's
about games
11
now
hours.
is automatic checkpoints.
Oh, yes.
I love that games save your progress. I don't have to worry about this. I mean, back in the day, there was like I was playing some other games, and there was like, oh, you have to remember the password. Like the password.
Oh,
is your
I
level
love
select. I'm
passwords.
like, oh god, that sucks.
I love
then,
when the
I
password is
remember
like
looking up-
25 characters long. You're like, why the hell do you need 25 characters to get into a level?
Yeah, what was that magazine that used to have all the codes in it, Josh?
Oh, Game Shark? No, that was
No, Game
that
Shark
was the
was like-
cartridge.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the thing
Oh, Tips
is.
and Tricks.
Yeah,
Tips and
yeah,
Tricks
tips and
magazine.
tricks. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm nostalgia all over the place, man. That was a good magazine.
Oh.
I have fond memories. What I would do. My dad told me that he's gonna start listening to this podcast, but I remember like my parents would go out grocery shopping around the store, and I would just go straight to the magazine section, and I would just pull up the Tips and Tricks magazine and just read through it like while my parents were shopping.
Oh.
Love that magazine.
See,
Looking
that
at the passwords. Yeah.
I loved that about the old days. Is like having to either find some or like you knew somebody who knew someone who knew someone about like some cheat code, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was like secrets all over the place, and you were just like excited to know them. And like today, you're just like, man, I'm gonna get on the internet. You know, that's like a lost thing, and
Yeah,
I feel bad. I feel sad that kids don't get to experience that.
I know. Sad.
Uh, yeah, I mean,
You know, we also had arcades when we were growing up. You remember
oh
arcades?
yeah, yeah, arcades were fun. I sucked at fighting games, so I get my ass whooped all the time. But
Oh yeah, but
yeah,
there was like there was protocol. Do you remember the protocol of like you put the quarter on
putting
the
your
screen?
quarters, yeah.
Yeah, and that meant that you were up next. That was like there was a process associated with trying to play a game.
Oh, and
It
you
was
get so
interesting.
much scorn if you accidentally cut. Oh,
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
even worse is when some bigger kid cut in front of you and like took the machine. Oh,
Or somebody would put down a quarter, and you might be chatting with some of the people waiting. But there was always like that one kid that like never said anything because he was a total badass, and he just came in there, wouldn't say a word, would school everyone, and then just quit.
yeah,
Or he would
yeah,
just put down his quarter and he would school everyone, and then his character would, he'd keep getting more free plays because he would keep winning.
yeah.
So he'd just be there for like the next hour.
Oh man,
Goddamn assholes.
they used to have this killer arcade right by where I lived, in downtown, over in Monroe. Yeah, that's right. That tiny little town had a huge arcade, and
Nice.
it was pretty awesome. Like, I can't even remember. It was like almost a warehouse size thing, and I used to go there all the time when my parents were like gonna go shopping or something. They're like, "Well, here's some money. Go to the arcade." It was awesome.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I remember one time an arcade memory I have is this was a bad idea. Um, I went to this I went to this arcade, and right next door to it was a gas station. It was kind of a small arcade, and me and my buddy, we were there, and we were playing the games and stuff. We decided to go next door to the gas station, and we got a 64-ounce like big gulp of Mountain Dew,
yeah.
and I proceeded to drink the whole thing in like 10 minutes, and then we went back in, and I started playing Dance Dance Revolution. And like I'm jumping up and down, and oh my god, I had to go pee. Like it was the worst pee of my whole life. It hurt so bad.
Oh man,
But
I was
I
hoping you were
chewed
gonna say
through
you peed
my
your pants.
playlist. I did not, but I went through my playlist. I could not quit. I was
Oh
dedicated
man,
to the craft.
the greatest thing I've ever seen at a arcade is this really fat guy doing Dance Dance Revolution, while his girlfriend sprayed him down with like water out of a water
That's pretty
bottle.
amazing. That's pretty awesome.
It was at GameWorks, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, if this guy gets
Hey, props to
super
that
skinny,
guy.
that's
that could be a
awesome.
weight loss thing.
Hell yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, that's how you lose weight? I can't diss you at all. That's awesome.
So I got a girl's phone number one time from Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh, how about that? Showing off your slick moves, huh?
I was okay. So yeah, my wife is like rolling her eyes over there. So I have to tell this story. I love Dance Dance Revolution, and we're getting on this side tangents, but I got the game when it first came out in America, which was kind of before. It was right when it was starting to get big in the arcades. I had the home dance mat, and I modded it and all sorts of crazy stuff. Well, so I knew a lot of the songs that were in the arcade version. I could practice at home, and there was one arcade in San Antonio where I grew up. That was like this really big arcade, and they had like go-karts and everything. It was Malibu Castle.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the Dance Dance Revolution machine, they put it right in the front and center of the place. And it was crazy because it would actually get crowds, pretty large crowds, like 20, 30 people sometimes.
That's crazy.
Just watching people play. And yeah, I was playing there, and man, I was badass. I was awesome. And
All I can
yeah,
hope
and
is that his story ends with you peeing your pants.
it did not. I did not pee my pants. I did not drink a big gulp before I did that. But yeah, I did get a girl's phone number from that.
Like, was it
That's
because you were so good at Dance Dance, or what
I'm
did you
gonna
do? What was
pretend
your
in my
move?
mind that was the case.
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna pretend this was like the modern day, flash dance. My dancing ability just impressed her so much that she was spooned into giving me her phone number.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I can't believe that. I wish I was there to see it. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Oh man,
So we wanted to bring up Megalodon.
I'm so furious about this. I hate Discovery. This is the third time. This is the third time they've done it, and I don't know how they escape getting sued, because you're purposely putting out a fraudulent product.
So it's funny because you were watching it and I was watching it at the same time, just coincidentally.
Yeah.
I saw you rant about it on Facebook and I was like, oh yeah, I saw that too. That was stupid. Yeah, there was a show about is Megalodon, in ocean waters, and they were presenting it like a documentary, like they were interviewing people and stuff.
Yeah, and they're totally portraying it as if like, this beached whale with half of it missing is real, and that these 20-foot tall shark fins are, around. It infuriated me because I'm like, there's children out there that are watching this thinking it's real. And there are stupid people who are going to believe it's real. I know. And I don't know how it doesn't say at the beginning, like, this is a dramatization, or like, this is not a real documentary.
It wasn't presented in a fact of like, usually with those cryptozoology shows, they're like, oh, maybe this evidence is to leading to this, but this is what some people say, and this is an urban myth around here. And it was totally presented as fact. It was like, yeah, Megalodon is real. It is in the ocean waters, and here are people who saw it.
And you were going to get eaten.
Yeah.
Well,
Megalodon, this 30-foot giant shark,
I just have like
stupid
a moral anger about this. Like, that's not a gray area. That's completely fraud, and
this is Discovery going downhill, man.
It ruins your integrity, obviously, and your believability.
Oh, they lost it like 5 years ago.
Well, the worst thing is that they did that with the stupid mermaid thing, like, twice. And I don't know how they got away with it. Like, it infuriated me. The first time, Nick was excited to watch it, because he's like, hey, maybe this is actually real, and it'd be kind of cool to see some of that stuff, And then we watched it, and we're like, this is totally fake, and I'm angry because they didn't say it. But the funny thing I found about the Megalodon thing was the scientist. Both of them are. The guy is like, way too handsome. Oh, that
biologist guy?
Yeah, he's way too handsome.
Yeah, that guy was ridiculously good looking.
Yeah.
That's funny that you mentioned that. Because me and Maggie were like, that guy's way too hot to be a biologist.
Exactly.
No biologists out there. That's funny that you thought that too.
Well, and not only that, he talks like, not a scientist. If you talk to, like, the Asian guy from, the universe, he doesn't talk like that. It was just ridiculous. It reminded me of a sci-fi original movie.
Sharknado.
Yeah, exactly. I was so enraged by it. Oh, man. Fucking A.
Maybe that's what they were going for.
No, well...
I couldn't watch it for more than 2 minutes, man. I had to turn it off. It pissed me off so much.
I just don't understand how people get away with that. It's like... this is like a bigger umbrella subject that I hate, is the based on a true story. So, they say the fourth kind is based on a true story, but none of that crap is real. The only thing that's real is that people sometimes disappear in Nome. That's the only damn thing that's real. All the rest of it is garbage, and I don't know how these companies get away with fraud. It just infuriates me.
Because they have a little disclaimer at the end that says, not based on true events.
Exactly. You can't say it. Oh, it just makes me angry.
It's like Fox News that says that they're an entertainment show rather than a journalism show, rather than a news program.
And people see it as freaking journalism. Oh, it drives me nuts. Oh, I don't even want to get into it. That is a terrible, terrible subject.
Well, we will get off our soapboxes off of Megalodon. I was gonna say we are getting our podcast up on iTunes. Hopefully it'll be up there shortly. We're trying to get it up on Stitcher. We're trying to get it up on Windows Phone /soon. So check us out soon. Follow us on the Twitters. Follow us on the Book Faces. Follow us everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what we need. It's more likes, more followers, and more views, because it would be awesome. I'm excited to have it on iTunes.
And we have some special things in store for PAX, which is coming up in another few weeks. So
exactly.
Stay tuned.
You guys will be getting some extra content. Next week we're
Fancy.
planning on talking about the moralness of scalping, or like reselling things for a higher value because they're rare.
Specifically in related to gaming subjects.
Exactly. Specifically, John.
Yes, I have stories to tell.
Well,
Another ethical conundrum.
exactly. And then I want to talk about point and click games on tablets, because I feel like
Yeah.
there's a revival on there, so I think that's perfect.
All right. Well, this is Bandito John
And No Name Josh,
signing off.
see you later.